live, Stuart. Oh, it's live now. Thanks, Stuart. Oh, good morning. It's day 5,224 of COP26. We have been here for nearly 2 weeks, a week and a half now, and it's so great to have Holy Cross Primary with us this morning. Did you guys have fun with the Lego? Yeah. It's just been great having young people of all ages coming through the space, engaging with COP26 and what's happening in the city at the moment. And I'm so glad that you guys were here and able to join in. I'm also really delighted that you could come and watch this presentation. It's the much anticipated presentation of the fortnight. These guys are my students. I teach design at Edinburgh Napier University. I'm part of the Daydream Believers Collective and the Creative Bravery Collective. And when we started this journey, we decided that we wanted to try and find a way for young people to engage with COP26. So we set all these projects. One of them was the Lego one that you've just done, called Human Habitats. And actually these guys have done the exact same project that you guys have just done. So we asked people if they could reimagine a space in Glasgow, a vacant and derelict land site, and what a future human habitat might look like. And people all over the world have done this. It's amazing. They've sent in their presentations from Taiwan, from America, from Japan, from all over the world under this hashtag Get On With It. How should we get on with it and address the climate crisis? And my third year product designers from Edinburgh Napier University have been doing this human habitat project for the last 6 or 7 weeks. And they've created their projects in a program called SketchUp, which is basically just a big grown up Minecraft. And they're presenting them in a virtual world. So they're going to do a Pecha Kucha or Pachacha, if our friends from Tokyo are with us, presentation, which means it's really fast and it's over quick. So it doesn't matter how boring it is, it's over quick, it's great. They get 20 slides and they get 20 seconds to talk about each slide that they put up. So they're going to be rehearsed, they're all nervous over there, ready to go. We've got 6 groups. 6 groups, so it'll be 6 separate presentations, and they're going to show us their ideas for the bit of vacant and derelict land just over near the Kingston Bridge. If you're ever down there, you can see it. It's a real piece of land, the guys that you were just talking about in your workshop, and they're going to show us their ideas for what that piece of land could potentially be like in the future. And I'm going to sit at the back and I'm going to mark their work. So this is part of their work. So let's really try and give them some encouragement. They've worked really, really hard. I'm super proud of them and I'm really excited to see how this is going to go. And we're going to start with group 1. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Anna and this is Jo. We are third year product design students at Edinburgh Napier University. We were tasked with reimagining the human habitat for a more sustainable and circular future. So we're going to talk to you about the light lane today, but about what that is and how we ended up at this end result. So we began looking at the climate crisis and the CO2 emissions in the UK, and we found that food waste and vehicle pollution are 2 of the biggest contributors, totaling to 30%. So we thought, how can we combat this? Well, the UK aims to stop the sale of petrol and diesel vehicles by 2040. This is to aid in the aim to reduce emissions to 0 by 2050. So as we look to a more electric future, we wondered, what does this look like?
I'd like to introduce to you the light lane. What if charging your car was both fun and exciting? What if you didn't have to leave your car and brave the Scottish weather? What if you could stay comfortable in your car with your family, all whilst completely on the go? The light lane is a new vehicle charging experience. It's a tunnel that's divided into 2 halves. The first is an enclosed charging tunnel that displays a light show as you travel through. With this, we wanted to take you away from reality and create a whole new experience when charging your car. Due to the nature of our design, we had to seal the tunnel. We did this through the use of a sliding door. This creates a fully personal experience, and as an added bonus, it prevents the beautiful Scottish weather from getting into damaging any electronics. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know that cycling in the rain is no fun at all. So the other half of our design is a covered bicycle lane with electric charging stations along the center wall. We also added lights for any late night adventures you might find yourself on.
So we looked at Scotland's food waste and found that in Scotland, we waste around 1 million tonnes of food per year, 60% of which is from the household. We wanted to look at how we could use the waste instead of just trying to stop it altogether, which led us to biomass and bioenergy. So if you can put the food waste into these biomass tanks and we can burn the CO2 emitted and turn that into electricity, which we plan to use to charge the cars. We envision a future where our cars will follow in our phone's footsteps and be powered by induction charging. This is being trialled in Nottingham already for taxis, and it creates a more efficient, seamless charging experience.
We knew that we were going to use a timber frame approach when designing our tunnel. Through our research on locally sourced timber, we found that timber is an extremely adaptable material and can be used in many more ways than we initially expected. It also has proven itself to be a more sustainable way to build when compared to other materials in construction. Timber also lends itself to a more modular way of building, as it works well with off-site manufacturing. This method allows for a faster and more efficient building process, as you can transport and build in a way very similar to flat pack furniture. This modular approach allows the light lane to adapt to any site, no matter the length. We designed the tunnel to come in 5-meter segments with an entrance and an exit piece. We also have plans for a version that is a full light show and one with parked electric car charging.
We decided to add a cover to the light lane, as Joe mentioned earlier, because we all know what Scottish weather's like. But we decided to choose plastic instead of glass to resist against the wind pressure of passing cars. For the plastic, we decided you could break down these PET plastic bottles and create our PET panels, which is just further using or solving our waste problem in Scotland. For the outside of the tunnel, we decided to add a sedum roof. This is further aiding in absorbing CO2 in the air, also provides food and a home for Scottish wildlife, and not to mention it's nice to look at as you're passing in your car.
The light lane is designed to use up space that no other structure could use, such as the space above roads, under bridges, or inside other tunnels. The original plan for our design was to go underneath the bridge beside the old site for COP.
This is our logo displayed on some road signs, and we decided to keep it simple so you could easily see it from the road, and it encompasses everything to do with our brand, so the biomass, the charging tunnel, and yeah, that's it on the door as well. So that's our solution to a more sustainable future. So now you can think about what could you do, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Do you want to do the question?
It should just be on screen. Welcome to our group project from Group 6 from Edinburgh Napier University. Our project is called Dache, which is Scots Gaelic for the word home. And we have reimagined the home in a way that is a modular design that can be built anywhere in the country and can do anything that you want it to.
I need to wait for the slide.
Oh.
Yeah. But I can't start if it's not about that part. So
Is the video playing now? Yeah. Do I need to press this to make the video play? Or?
I think because it's a video, like once you press it once, you
There we
have
go.
to wait for it. I don't want to start talking until it's the right slide. Sorry. Of this. This is Kevin. Kevin has recently been looking to buy a new house. He's been faced with many issues whilst in his search for looking for a new home. Many of his options are far too expensive as he is tied down to the size of the property for a long time and his location is fixed.
So Kevin can face many problems or issues when he buys a traditional house, because for traditional house, you can't really easy to expand it when your family grows. So and if his family grows and his kids leave, then he has empty rooms to clean and heat for no reason.
So our modular housing will be a self-sufficient living solution, and it will get rid of all of the problems such as overuse of energy and empty space in the home.
Dakiak housing allows the user to buy on demand. This means that when Kevin buys his first home, all he needs to buy is the rooms that he will actually use. Here we can see that all Kevin needs to start life is a kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom, so there is no wasted space.
And sometime later, Kevin meets his wife, and so because he has one more people living in his house, so he needs more room to live in, maybe a bigger bedroom or bigger living room. So what he do, he's just ordering one more room or a bigger one from the factory. And when he has his kids, he orders more, and it's easier than just buying a new one.
As Kevin's life goes on and his children grow up and then potentially move away from the family home, Kevin can also then choose to get rid of the rooms that his children no longer use and are just empty space. And that makes his and his wife's life a lot more easy because they're not spent cleaning rooms that they don't use.
Other options that the modular house offers is flexibility in layouts and ability to expand rooms when needed. This allows the user to not be tied down to specific floor plans like in a traditional property. This can offer the family much more freedom of how they would like to use the land and their property.
So the whole house is constructed by a plate where it sits on the floor with the runners on the side. And then all the walls will be slided into the runners. So it forms like a box shape. Each of the walls have their own pipe and cables in between the walls. So they connect themselves into like a closed circuit, and it functions individually.
So if any panels were to get damaged while Kevin and his family were living in the house, they could send them back to the factory to be replaced. And then the damaged panels could either be repaired and then used again or recycled further into smaller objects that can be used within the home.
As well as being able to expand and reduce the size of his home, Kevin is also free to move around each room as he wishes. All that the user would need to do is raise the side skirts of each room, release the brake on the wheel, and simply push the room to whatever desired placement he wants. So if any time he has any neighbours that are far too loud, he can just move his room furthest way possible so he doesn't have to hear anyone.
And so with this ability to move each rooms, and everyone can move their room to closer to each other or further to form a community unique to another. And so if you go on to one of the streets, it can be really different another day because everyone can move their own house every single day from different looks.
So if the rooms are all able to move, then we've had to make each room self-sufficient. So any room that uses water, such as your bathroom or kitchen, will collect its rainwater and store it within the building. And any other room that uses power will have solar panels on the roof of the building in order to generate that power for each room.
As there is no fixed size or layout to each home, they can be built in practically any location. This means that the user chooses where they get to live. As well as the user If the user wanted to live in an urban environment to build their home in, and they later decided that they wanted to move into the countryside, then they would be able to do that by disassembling the rooms and transporting their home and reassembling it somewhere. This means that even though you're moving your house, you still get to keep all of your memories in your room.
As a method to heat water, we decide to use thermal heating. So there are water pipes on top of the houses. So when the sun shines directly on the pipes, it will heat the water up. So we don't need electricity to do it.
In order to collect the water, we've used the entire space of the roof of some of the rooms, and it will act as a tray for the rainwater to fall into that will then be filtered into tanks within the building. And any excess water will overflow into an external tank that we can keep for later use. All of the buildings will be produced using mass timber. So we will use CLT for the structural components, such as the pillars of the building. And then for any large wall panels that include insulation, we will be able to skin it in a mass timber as well.
So we have chosen to do everything off-site, which means every component will be built in the factory and sent to the built site directly. So it will fasten the whole building process and also reduce building waste up to like 30% when compared with normal building.
Please enjoy our little virtual tour of our little community. We hope that our presentation has brought you some possibilities for the future of sustainable living. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello, everyone. We are Diana, Emma, and Jack. Nice to meet you. Is it playing?
I think it just plays as soon as it goes.
Hmm?
So. Yeah, just so.
When you think about the future, what do you imagine? Who do you think of? Because it's for us, it's children. It's you guys. It's the ones who are going to live tomorrow on the planet we are destroying today. So we thought, can we build a place where children grow up while being in harmony with nature? Yes, thank you. Yeah, children, they're curious, innocent, they love playing. Most of all, they love playing. They go to playgrounds. So this is how the concept of the place was born, through play, to be reconnected to the ground. And we called this place Everland. This is Everland, the educational playground, where children will grow up, will understand the needs of the nature better, and will also understand their own needs as well, and will learn how to create a better world for themselves and the ones they're living with.
What school curriculum offers, they currently don't engage in teaching climate change or circular economy at the level it should, to which children can clearly become aware of the issues surrounding their habitat. There is a lack of creativity in schools and the encouragement of young people to hold on to their creativity. As said by Sir Ken Robinson, creativity is as important as literacy. Everland gives children the chance to be involved in their own circular economy with plantation and farming to be a part of sustainability for their school's own habitat. We hope this would allow children to understand better by seeing it instead of hearing about it. We have solar panels and a small amount of wind turbines to power energy for our school, with crops to grow their own food for snack time and lunch, which leads back around to our food waste turning into compost for plantation. The main point of the place is that everything is connected in one circular economy.
So this is what the building's going to look like. It's going to be constructed using a timber frame and a concrete kind of foundation. It's 2 buildings connected with a bridge together and a spiral staircase to get between floors, and a spiral staircase there. And of course, a slide and a climbing wall to offer different traversal. This is what an average day would look like at the place. You know, you start in the reception and go up to the library and the garden. And it's like kind of like a circular motion through the buildings. You go up and around and then back out the same side to kind of feed into the circular themes we're going for. So this is a tour of the place we'll give you. This is the reception area where you will start your day and you get greeted and welcomed, and you can leave your bags and you collect your Everland bag and your shoes that you're going to use for all your activities. And then you go up the stairs to the next floor where the next room is.
Which will be our library. Here will be all the sources of knowledge children will gain for all the plants, different animals, different needs, and about the climate crisis around the world. And it will be like an opportunity to discuss more, to talk more about the climate crisis, because as Emma already said, it's not part of the education at all, a lot. So after that, children will be able to put all that knowledge into practice. They'll go up to the rooftop garden where they will plant some vegetables. They took care of their own plants, and they will be able to bring those vegetables back home when they're ripe. And after that, they will go through the bridge and will reach the studio. And this is where we were thinking of like what activities, like we thought playing music or drawing or painting, will get their creative minds working. So it will be a way to start expressing themselves, to like get them to think of creative approaches.
Once they've unlocked their creativity, they will go to the workshop. And after that, they will have the opportunity to create, invent, and explore and experiment. With a range of materials and tools, children will design and build without limitations for a more sustainable life. And hopefully these inventions will be able to inspire activists, scientists, architects, and designers to find new solutions. On our ground floor, this will have an exhibition once in a while with drawings and inventions displayed in Everland's yard, open for everyone to visit. It will also act as a charity, and the funds raised will be donated to schools or local organisations. Then at the end of the day, we believe the children should have the opportunity to wind down and be able to interact with their well-being in a mixture of ways through yoga, meditation, or stretching. And we believe this can contribute not only to their physical well-being, but also their mental health.
Okay, so during that busy day, the kids will need to eat to keep energy up. So we're gonna have an outdoor canteen inside a gazebo, and any food waste that happens we get from the canteen will be composted, and the compost will be turned back into soil and then used in the rooftop garden to create a circular economy. At the end of the day, we hope that the kids go home satisfied and want to come back, and they're excited to come back and learn more, and they take the lessons that they learn and apply it to their everyday lives. And that's how we hope to build the future of tomorrow, by teaching these lessons and the kids using them in the future. And then obviously in the winter time, it's going to get cold, and most of the outdoor activities and the nature of the building won't be able to be utilized, but the building will be able to be adapted so that you can still have all these activities. During the winter, it'll just be mainly indoors, and the circle motion will still be able to be kept intact and everything.
Overall, we want to encourage children to approach nature in a different way and start appreciating it from an early age. The buildings with their outdoor-indoor look will symbolise the connection to nature and how it is an important part of their everyday life.
Because children all around the world suffer due to the damages that climate crisis creates and causes all around the world. So we want our playground to represent every child and how it deserves to live in a safe and clean, protected environment.
We hope that children find inspiration and are able to express their creativity and reshape tomorrow's world in the future. And the future is and will be Everland.
Thank you.
Okay, we're just going to have a very small hiatus because the kids need to go and get on their bus. So we'll let you guys go. And then we'll get everybody else in the audience to move to the front.
Well, you know, thank you. Maybe one day, one of you will help represent your ideas.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Round of applause.
Stop with it.
No, this is worse.
Hello. Can you hear? Yeah. Can you hear it?
Can you hear?
Hi. Yeah. Cool.
Do we have to?
I don't know. You do it.
I'll do it.
Look at that. Everybody can see me.
This is even worse.
So just hello everyone. I'd like to start by welcoming you all here today. I'm Matthew.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Adrian.
And we're product design students from Edinburgh Napier. We'd just like to start by thanking you all for giving us a voice and letting our proposal for a greener future be heard. Ours is called Cluster. We can't wait to start. So let's begin. On screen here is our logo and a little render. So how do we get here? Well, we started by questioning our own habitat, exploring where we live, where we study, where we work, made us realize, actually, we're not happy with them, what they represent, and we're especially not happy with the price of moving out. I'm sure all you students know how bad it is at the moment. It's really tough. So what is it? Well, our focus is affordable co-housing made from mass timber to help a diverse range of people get back on their feet in Glasgow. It is accompanied by a purpose-built community centre which aims to promote inclusivity and act as a connector between residents in which we call clusters. This is also open to the wider community to get a larger proportion of people involved. Why? Why have we chosen to focus on affordable housing? Well, as we all know, it's a very relevant problem in Glasgow and a problem only made worse by the pandemic. We've chosen to use mass timber as it can be locally sourced and is very sustainable. It is also affordable, so we're hoping that it can be used in other derelict sites in Glasgow or around Scotland for that matter. Site information. So we've looked at the surrounding area of the site for relevant charities and services which could be utilised. We found emergency accommodation, social services, homeless shelters, but we found that the area lacks something a bit more permanent. We also looked at Social Bite in Edinburgh, which is a similar project, so we could learn from them and see what they've done wrong, what they've done right, and what we could learn on. Mood board. So we looked at projects for inspiration which we thought aligned with our goals or looked aesthetically pleasing. From our research, we found that green space was very important as it gave residents something to nurture and make them feel like they have a sense of purpose. As you can see on screen here, the ones highlighted are the ones we found important, and there's some examples of aesthetics that we liked.
We decided on clusters of hexagon, which we thought would look intriguing from the bridge above. They can fit together nicely into small communities or expand individually upwards based on each family's needs. The interior will be fully integrated and come equipped with all the basics someone would need. Clusters will also have a shared garden rooftop. As you can see, we have settled on the final design for the houses. We decided on cute little pods which fit together into clusters as seen on the bottom right screen here, as we decided these would promote the most interaction and foster a great community. It was at this point we addressed any concerns with accessibility issues. From the renders, you can see examples of how the clusters are designed to be very community-based. We want a strong tie to nature with lots of green space and natural light. In the bottom right is an example of how a two-story home would look to accommodate a larger family. We also have walkways across the roof to make each space more sociable. As you can see, the interiors are perfect for helping people get back on their feet. Although quite small, It has all the necessities which someone might need, including integrated internet access, which we found was very important from research, as well as this as an on-site bathroom for each home. We've used a rooftop garden to help with crop growing and drainage, as well as integrated living walls, which will also help with drainage. Each cluster also has solar panels capturing sunlight in 360 degrees to help offset some of the power needed for the homes. The natural inner courtyard is also a great space to interact with others. The top floor for the community center is designed to be segregated, whereas the bottom is larger and more open space with plenty of windows throughout. We have used warm orange as a facade, which will help break up the plain face on each wall and help the structure and help tie the structure to the clusters of houses. This will also look striking from across the waters.
Animated video on screen shows interaction from home to cluster to community. The space will be a thriving hub where people can learn new skills, which will eventually enable them to move on to bigger and better things. The houses will be made from mass timber, OSP outer paneling with wood fiber insulation. It gives a high overall U value. It's biodegradable and it can also be locally sourced. The community center will have cross-laminated timber for good vertical load bearing with I-joists to host pipes and electrics in the flooring. The community center will be a central hub where people can come together. It promotes inclusivity. It's also a space where people can attend workshops, activities, and build meaningful and long-lasting relationships for later on in life. Have some examples on screen. For funding, we looked at that Glasgow City Council, which had a community funding for 2021 and 2022. The purpose with this funding is to tackle poverty and inequality through various activities and services. We will also have charities and volunteers. For heating, we're using ground source heat pumps. It's very efficient and has a 70% less carbon dioxide emission than traditional gas heating. It's also lower running costs. To end, we'd like to show you guys a stop motion animation video that kind of showcases the feeling of cluster.
Thanks for listening. Any questions?
Thank you.
And do I press this? Hello, I'm Sarah.
I'm Robin. And I'm Jacob. So for our project, we were tasked with imagining and creating a space where nature, business, and community can thrive. our project is the Tree Hive. It's a community-based open source farmers market.
As a group, we were interested in where our food comes from and how we as humans gather our food in what we call the local habitat. Most animals forage for their meals, we shop for ours. We asked ourselves, what impact does this have on our environment and what we can do to improve things for the future? Every year, the agriculture industry throws away thousands of tons of perfectly good food, all because it doesn't meet the cosmetic requirements of the supermarket. 60% of fruit and veg every year find their way straight to the landfill. Some because of visual defects, some because of damage caused during the transportation through long logistical networks. The empty shelves of Brexit have been a rude awakening that the just-on-time systems we have built are inadequate and costly to the planet and to our health. The range of foods have been narrowed to support the logistics network, not for the benefit of the consumer. Providing local to its intended customer allows for greater range of food to be produced. The local production of food reduces the impact of transporting food on the global environment. Transporting food over the long distances creates millions of tons of carbon every year and puts microplastics into the oceans from the wearing of tires. The microplastics from the tires contributes 20% of microplastics in our oceans. Vertical farms are a necessary part of our food producing future. Our current methods of industrial farming is stripping the nutrients from the soil, leading to soil erosion and poor drainage. As well as polluting, vertical farming allows for us to bring the growing into the city, reducing the distance and time food has to travel to the customer. The current options for local produce are a bi-weekly market of independent growers selling through the independent personal stall. The problem with the market is that they are temporary and most are held in shared public spaces that are of a mixed use and sometimes difficult to reach. We want to change that and encourage a different way that we gather our foods.
So for our original concepts, we were looking at various modular and customizable designs inspired by simple geometric shapes. We used biomimicry, looking at hexagonal shapes of the beehive to create the grounded clusters you see here. So we took our idea and we wondered, how could we make it a spectacle, keeping the hexagonal forms and shapes that we had? We experimented with different forms and we imagined how it looked raised off of the ground. Very quickly, we found the design became very tree-like, as you can see in our cardboard mock-ups, which are available to be seen after. The project is to be located beside the Kingston Bridge here in Glasgow. It's perfectly located in between the two pre-existing farmers markets Robin mentioned earlier. In our design, the canopy of the tree is the actual building, with the fruits being the actual markets themselves. In this bird's eye view of our market, you see the true scale of the tree hive. It shows off many of the elements that contribute to the circular economy and community atmosphere of the building, such as the market, the community areas, the beehives and wildflower gardens, the educational areas, the solar panels, and the vertical farms. The markets are accessed through the large spiral staircase and the lift in the trunk of the tree, the main central pillar. The lift provides access to the elderly, the disabled, and anyone who needs it. It also can act as cargo transport. The entrance hall provides growing areas and vertical farms for farmers and the public.
We wanted to upscale and improve the infrastructure while retaining the community aspect of and the atmosphere of traditional farmer markets. The focus was to turn on local farmers and to provide a more frequent and reliable place to sell their produce at. There are also spaces for local people that can contribute their makes to the tree hive. And the vertical farms and growing spaces around the market are for people to hand pick fresh produce, super greens, herbs, berry fruits, and vegetables are amongst the produce that is easily grown, and it would be ideal for this market. Okay, under the canopy is a place for people to be relaxed, inspired, and escape from the harsh concrete and glass buildings in the city. The building also gives a shelter over the head so you can host events and have more space for the stalls to be put up. And there are more communal spaces on the inside and on the outside areas of a tree hive. They are mostly used by the community. to meet with family, friends, to have picnics and a breath of fresh air with stunning views of the River Clyde and the green area around the tree hive. Teaching and learning zones and the tree hive open opportunities for the young generation to learn where their food comes from, and also a place for people to show how to start their own urban vertical farms so they can sustain themselves and contribute their leftover produce to the tree hive. Of course, you can't get half food without the bees. So this is why we wanted to include bees in our design. And we have wildflower parts of the flue rooftops to provide them with a habitat and also a source for nutrients and also create honey. And there are two biomass management pillars inside the supporting pillars of a tree hive. So you would throw away organic waste to the pillar, and while it's decomposing, it creates heat and gases, and this can help us to warm the interior. And fully decomposed matter becomes compost for growing new plants. Additional power might be needed, so solar panels and can compensate that power.
Thank you for listening. We have learned so much through the creative process. Unfortunately, Obama couldn't make it today. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to come up to us afterwards. And as I said, we have some cardboard mock-ups if you want to see how it might look.
Yeah. And again, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Our proposal is for the development of a business park that realizes the potential of the circular economy and utilizes this in its practices to encourage a progressive approach to a prosperous and self-sufficient community. Through carefully selected business types, deployment of materials and teamwork, we believe the concept of a sustainable hub in the centre of Glasgow is entirely possible.
Circular economy is a model of production and consumption that involves sharing, reusing, and recycling existing products to lead in a reduction of waste. Our goal is to move away from a linear economy and more towards a circular cradle to cradle economy where there is less waste. And it looks like it's stuck.
Yeah. The relationship Glaswegians have with their city has always been central to a progressive Scotland. Through localised, circular and self-contained communities, working together towards a shared goal, we believe the city can reach the nationwide target of a 30% decrease in carbon emissions within the next 5 years, whilst remaining not only financially viable, but financially prosperous.
The visual appeal of our site is crucial to create a green movement within Glasgow, and we can't think of a more important reminder of the climate crisis than the rising sea levels, which have risen 6 to 8 inches in the past 100 years. So our design is essentially a visual statement to remind us of that.
That's good. Don't know whether to wait for the next slide or just crack on. Vertical farming is a practice of growing crops in vertically stacked lures. Produce is usually grown indoors under artificial conditions. It enables a bigger yield per square meter than traditional farming, and it can be operated under spatial constraints. This makes it an ideal supply source to our business park to ensure stability and supply of locally sourced goods and a reduction of additional costs.
Our site includes a range of business ventures that all intertwine together to create a flourishing, self-sufficient community comprised of 2 office blocks, 2 vertical farm units, 4 retailers, and a microplastic repurpose facility, all working together to create a circular economy.
In order to create a self-sufficient community, we've developed a series of retail units, each relying on the produce of 2 vertical farms. Goods produced in the farms are passed firstly to an organic grocer, then to a restaurant, a juice bar, and a cosmetic manufacturer, before at their expiry being composted and returned to the farm for further deployment.
We've created a collection of buildings aimed at catching passerbys' attention, nesting themselves with the Clyde as they foreshadow the potential future we face of rising sea levels.
Bridges link building to building above the surface of the water. This enables the fluid progression of produce and movement of people through the park. It was our aim to replicate the flowing nature of the circular economy within the path people would follow through our building, both including visitors on our journey to a sustainable future and enabling a natural flow of goods, creating a relaxed and easygoing atmosphere for all those involved.
I'll just crack on. Material selection was incredibly important to us because we need materials that are both suitable and sustainable. For example, for the stilts, we have used green heart to avoid having corrosion and erosion from being in the Clyde. And our vertical farms are made of recycled PET poly brick.
This redevelopment seemed like a perfect opportunity to instigate a reintroduction of green space in the particularly grey area of Glasgow. Green roofs are present on all buildings within the park. In addition to serving a visual purpose, these roofs act as a draining system for the site. Rainwater is trapped within the green space, and this is then filtered down the sides of the buildings, creating a path for water to run off.
We envision the office space would be a community hub that provides for work and also relaxation. A number of socializing areas, including balconies and seating areas, give the workers an opportunity to have some downtime while they're working.
Our farm's produce is passed through all part of the park's units before being returned as compost. To facilitate affordable growth, PET has been used in the construction of both farms, using sustainable materials to create structures from Glasgow's waste in keeping with the ethos of the park. Additionally, forming PET into tile shapes provides an ideal platform to mold light fittings and other key features, whilst also providing insulation properties which are central to the growth.
The two office blocks located centrally are used to encourage the residents of Glasgow to engage with our farming space. And we have a hot desk policy in that the time you spend volunteering to help in the vertical farms, you then get back in time to use the office space.
Produce is firstly supplied to our organic grocer. This is whilst the goods are at their freshest. This space encourages supporting local Scottish grown foods and healthy lifestyles. Produce is rotated regularly and moved along the supply chain promptly, operating on a daily restock. The goods sold at this venue will be offered to members of staff at the park at a discounted rate in keeping with the other retail units.
After the first day of the rotation, the produce makes a short journey to the park's restaurant. Here, the fruit and veg grown within the farm that was not sold during the first day of the grocer are used in creating dishes that are available at this unit.
After day 2, any leftovers are passed along to a juice bar that should appear in a minute. Maybe, there we go. To a juice bar where they're used to create unique and customizable smoothies. Guests will select their own fruits as they browse the stock inventory. Once they have made their selection, produce is placed on a scale and the user is charged based on weight. Following, the selected fruit will be blended and made into the visitor's very own individual favorite handcrafted beverage.
And the final step in the produce's circular lifestyle is a cosmetic manufacturer and retailer, where supplies passed on from the juice bar are used to create natural beauty and skincare products, which are handcrafted here. And following the product's expiry, they are then composted and returned to the vertical farm.
As an extra and a means of encouraging youth engagement with sustainable practice and utilising our unique positioning on the Clyde, a microplastic repurpose centre is being developed. Microplastics are removed from the area surrounding the site in the Clyde and are supplied to the repurpose centre. Here, children of workers can create their own toys from the microplastics by simply injecting, moulding the material into their own unique form, inspiring the future of sustainable design.
Using a circular economy model enables us to create a self-sufficient community while developing a sustainable business practice that seeks to inspire change, ignite passion for climate care in young people, and do good for the environment it's situated in. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I don't know about you guys, but I'm completely blown away by that. We were in a session last night in this very room. What was the film called, Helena? It was called The Cure for the Common Classroom. And they talked a lot about learner-led learning. And you guys have honestly completely nailed it, because I've been organising this while you guys have been doing your projects. So I can't take any credit for any of it. Rachel's been amazing helping out as well. I'm really impressed, but I'm going to invite Anne Johnson, who's on the board of Construction Scotland Innovation Centre, to come and give a quick reaction to the presentations. Bear in mind, Anne, that these guys are not architects or engineers, they're product designers, and they've never used any of this software before they started this project. So I'll let you.
Thank you. So Ruth asked me to sit in on this and said, will you help me mark them? And I was like, yeah. And now I'm like, thanks very much, because that was a thankless task, because you were all brilliant. Honestly, that was amazing. And as Ruth said, I sit on the board of Construction Scotland Innovation Centre, and like my background's in kind of built environment, and there were loads of things that I saw there that I've seen in real projects, and you've obviously all done tons of research. But I think the main thing was how you brought them together into really original ideas, and how you'd thought about the site and things as well. So I know that site intimately, and like the concept of seeing your ideas down there, that would be amazing. Any of them, all of them. It's like, yes, bring it all on. And but yeah, you should be really proud, and Rachel, you too. I mean, that's an incredible amount of work, and you're getting up here and giving your presentations and everything as well. We've seen some really incredible stuff this week from lots of kids, but that is a real highlight for me. I say, so well done to all of you.
And not to be outdone, the inimitable Helena Good coming to give some feedback as well.
I just wanted to say, because I was looking at it kind of, first of all, from a design background and looking at how you told the story. And I think the first thing is that Pecha Kucha format really worked for you. So it may have been a challenge to get your story, to condense all of that learning into that format. But you'll know as you listen to them, we have an attention span of a newt. So, you really do have to work hard to get that message across, to make all of that work. I think, I was looking at each of the different presentations. What really stood out for me were people where they actually put the context of what the brief was. So, and also use some of the terminology from the challenge. So when people said reimagine, that was part of the brief, and that's the kind of, and human habitat. And when we saw, well, actually, this is the piece of land, this is where it's situated, this is the community that sit around that, and this is how this is going to work within the community. I really love that. The other thing I would say, just looking at your branding, everything that you produce, everything you do should reinforce your concept. So your brand, should tell that idea. And some of you kind of did better at that than others, I think. Make sure that if you call your concept, your experience something, we know why it has that name, because that's another bonus, that's another marker for us. Light Lane, I loved it. I love the idea of this community. I love the space. Recharging your car, your bike is boring. And I thought I really loved that idea of bringing the community together. What could you do? Look at your brand, because I think the brand needs to have a wee bit more of the light and the dark and how that came together. Dashig, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I loved Kevin. I don't know where you are, but I really loved Kevin in the video, and I really loved that part that came into your storytelling, because that was the human part. And that for me was the brief. And this is a building for humans. I don't know if you said that, but that absolutely came through. Everland, I really love education, and I thought that worked. But at the beginning, tell us why you chose that. Why they're doing that, and also could that challenge have been the human habitat have actually lived in that experience? So how would that work? Think about all aspects, like parents dropping kids off at that experience. One of the biggest polluters is people dropping kids back and forward to schools. So thinking about that, you know, and again, just look at the visual brand. You had this lovely circular spiral thing happening. Let me know. Cluster, you did look at the site info and you looked at the community, and I really loved the kind of community garden, and you mentioned Thriving Hub, and that you looked at the funding. I thought that was brilliant. For everybody, I thought, you know, look at the impact. So what you've done here is a sort of a pilot. You know, you said this is what we could do. So how could that actually be transformed and developed as a sort of a pilot into what is the sort of impact in that? Tree Hive, you actually read the challenge. I don't know where you are, but yeah, you did say, you know, reimagine, and you put that challenge, because I always say, I've said to my students, the brief is the client's baby. They've worked on those words. So the more that you say that to them, the more that you actually engage with them. And good to see the stats. Just be careful when you bring data or any kind of stats into something that you're not going to tell us the same thing that somebody else has said in the last presentation. And I always think of data, I was saying this to Kirsty, as data, you know, and if somebody says something like, you know, there's 60 harvests left, we're like, oh my God, you know, I didn't know that. So you make sure you use that to kind of get our attention quite quickly. I love the idea for you guys in Tree Hive. You mentioned the community aspects and the farmers markets, but again, tell us about that. Who are these people? Because our communities, older people, younger people. So make sure that you use that kind of your thinking to sell it. Watch your spelling, and we do it all the time, but it's really good to just go back and get someone to have a look at it. Again, just the last one, just tell us, Ruth will be saying, I only asked you for a couple of words. I know. I couldn't stop it. The teacher came into me. I love that, you know, you chose business, but again, tell us why you chose business. You know, why was that important? I thought the video you had to explain the circular was fantastic. And I think it should be something we should send to Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It's a really, really simple way of doing that. I loved, you said something, we placed the buildings near to the Clyde so that there would be visual interest. And I thought that was really clever, because when you actually look at that piece of land, it's easy not to notice it. It's easy, you know, so again, just that awareness of where the Clyde was. And you said reimagine green space. And you know that if after the pandemic, that's on their site, that is so again, there's the client's baby, you know, and thinking about that's really important. I wondered about the working partners. So at the minute you can get a lot of office space, it's not difficult to get that. And how we could bring in the hybrid model, what would entice people to come out of their bedrooms and their living rooms into this space. So, you know, just think about that. But you did, you know, what was interesting about yours, when I was writing this, then you started to answer it, which I thought was really good. And you said, you know, you get space if you volunteer. On the gardens, you can get office space. And I thought that was really good. I did love that you went from the juice bar to your face mask to the compost. And I thought that was a really clever piece of thinking. I think for everybody, you know, not juggling this around about 250 screaming school kids that we've had coming through here. I know that many have given up your time to come and volunteer while actually doing this. For Ruth and I don't know about you, I can only speak for myself. It was an absolute goosebump moment, because what we have tried to do throughout this experience for the last 2.5 years that we've been working on collecting and gathering, collaborating schools, colleges and universities together. You today are ambassadors for this. You're living proof that it's possible for a school 3 minutes ago to be working on the same challenge and then come in, have that same school kids sitting there, walk out the door and go, I'm coming back here to do that. That we can't ask for any more. So I think feel hugely proud of what you've done. Realize that unlike any other classroom presentation, this just doesn't sit in a Teams folder. This is an experience will be shared. I'm videoing stuff to send down to Lego, to send to Ellen MacArthur. It sits as Pechacucha as a global classroom. When Education Scotland come in here tomorrow, we will be showing this as a model and example of the way forward. So massive, massive well done. She only asked me to say 3 words.
Guys, you've absolutely nailed it. Kirsty's buying the drinks. Okay, woo!